Being home of Mayport, NAS Jacksonville, and Cecil Field, there is always a chance that you could know someone who could be called on to help. Sam has spent the past several days with some of those who are always training, and he's joining us with Sam's Patriot Games.
Tom and Deb, these guys are ready to defend the peace at a moment's notice, and maybe even quicker than that. I've been with the VFA-131 Wildcats at Cecil Field, who fly the FA-18s. It's the primary fighter and attack plane for the United States Navy. I got to sit in on some of their strategy sessions and talk to those who are making the top decisions. As a sports director, you might say, well, this is kind of strange that I got this assignment, but actually, it's very appropriate because most of those I talked to kept stressing the importance of teamwork. The pilots make it look so effortless as they soar through the skies, but to fly these FA-18s takes years of preparation.
It's like a football team, if you want to call it that. You know, you just can't throw a bunch of guys together and go out and play football. You can go out and play football, you're not going to win.
And winning just doesn't involve pilots. It involves those who make sure the planes are ready to go.
The guys that got the mechs deal with the engines, fuel systems. You got airframes deal with screws and hydraulics. You got electricians dealing with the electrical avionics types.
Right, and everybody's got to work together and do their job in order for these guys to fly.
Yeah, we do. It's got to be a team effort.
All those on the team, in the air and on the ground, are in top shape.
You start lifting those 500-pound bombs, 1,000-pound bombs. Yeah, they got to go to the gym and work out.
The Navy calls their training flights hops. On this day, they let me observe the briefing for a training exercise that would involve 46 planes, some from Cecil Field, others in from other naval air stations and Air Force bases from around the country. Following the overall brief, the pilots then head for what they call the element brief.
It's a pre-game plan. We sit down and see who's going to die and who's going to do the killing.
In these Patriot Games, the goal is to win, but safety is a priority.
If a guy goes out and injures himself, he's no use to us. I mean, he's on the bench. You can't play him. And he's a guy that you might need.
Once in the air, what they've practiced and planned for is reality. The target on this day is the Pine Castle bombing range just south of Palatka. The games end, and the strike leader returns to assess how the mission went.
The strike went well. We got the bombs off. We hit the target.
Right, and that's the key.
That's the key.
Even years of experience in flying mission after mission, you can still see his exhilaration.
That was the hop of the year.
After the mission, those involved watch video from their cockpit cameras to assess the success or failure of their air-to-air and air-to-ground maneuvers in combat. And after reviewing the video, there's another meeting to discuss any problems they might have had in the sky. Off the coast of Jacksonville, the pilots use a TACS range, Tactical Air Combat Training System. Each jet is outfitted with a telemetry transmitter to show just what were they doing during the strike. It's the key element in learning on the ground what actually happened in the sky. So we win?
Looks like we did. Bombs on target. I think that the Platkins are subdued.
The Palatkins on this particular day were the target. Of course, that's the Pine Castle bombing range, which is just south of Palatka. Tomorrow night, I'm going to show you what happened when they took me flying over Jacksonville.
Was this
The FA-131 with the Wildcats. Recently, I did have the privilege to fly with the pilots at Cecil Field. I had the opportunity to fly with the Blue Angels 4 years ago, the instructors at Cecil Field, and I did a carrier landing, a cat shot, and a trap during Desert Storm. This time, the Wildcats of VFA-131 wanted to show me what a typical peacetime training flight, or hop, was like. The FA-18, those who fly the planes, have years of training and preparation. The pilots just don't practice in the sky. They also train on flight simulators at Cecil Field. I got a chance to see what it was like. They let me try all three, air-to-air, air-to-ground, as we bombed enemy targets, and a carrier landing. You might call the Dome simulator a video Patriot game. It gives the pilots an opportunity to practice and make mistakes without injury or damage to a $37 million airplane. It takes concentration and some quick thinking.
Hello. Hey.
Although my landing wasn't perfect, my instructor said the key element was achieved. I landed on the deck. The day I was actually going to fly in an FA-18 began with a pre-flight briefing, going over all the details for our training hop.
As I roll in smoothly, you're rolling in too, and Sam, what you're going to see, you're going to look out the left side of your cockpit, and then you're going to be looking out the right side as we're over here kind of inverted. Okay. And then we're going to roll out again like this, and we're going to dive in a 45-degree dive like that.
After completing the flight brief, the next step was to suit up. Pilots wear a parachute harness and a survival vest, along with their helmet over their flight suit, to ensure their safety in case of ejection.
Now I got it. It's the hard part, I think.
I'm now ready to get on the plane. A walk down the flight line in full gear is an experience like no other. Berner and I pre-flighted the plane, and then it was time to go. Here's what happened once we took off. The Navy allowed me to take some pictures of our hop that day to show just what an FA-18 is capable of doing. We first headed down to the Pine Castle bombing range near Palatka to do some practice bombing. Each FA-18 is equipped with an in-flight video recorder. Here's what it looks like through the heads-up display in the cockpit. Controlling a video camera in this situation is not the easiest thing to do. I'm sitting in the back seat holding an 8mm home video camera as we roll in on the target, become inverted or upside down, then come back out at over 450 miles an hour. This all sets up the attack or the air-to-ground mission of the FA-18. At a 45-degree angle at the ground, it's then bombs away, and then a pull-out and climb back to 13,000 feet. Then it was time for a strafing run, firing 20mm rounds at enemy positions. Part of this hop included plugging, which is actually in-flight refueling. In-flight, refueling is a standard procedure since you can't exactly pull over and ask them to fill her up. Well, here you kind of do as we rendezvous for our tanking. On this day, the weather was perfect and the tanking practice went smoothly. But you can imagine what this is like at night or in a thunderstorm when fuel is low. The final part of our flight was a 3,000-foot pass over downtown Jacksonville and over Channel 4. When we landed, I kept thinking, these guys have the greatest job in the world, but boy, did they really earn their money.
So this isn't going to be your last flight then, is it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm probably getting too old for this stuff.
Hopefully that's not my last flight, and the thing that I learned once again is that these guys just don't go run out and jump in the planes and fly off. They're full of dedication, professionalism, and lots of patriotism at Cecil Field and at all other Navy bases around. Our thanks certainly go to Lieutenant Commander Kevin Miller and Lieutenant Steve Berner Parker, who was the pilot, the wingman that day, and also to the CO out there, Commander Mike Beener Ramirez, for all their cooperation. It was an experience like no other, and I'd go again tomorrow.
That little face there with a mask on, that was you?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay,
As
so
you
they're...
passed the camera like this?
Yeah, I held it backwards, and I went like this, you know.
So they're Hoser, they're Beaner, and you're...
Bone.
Like head?
Yeah.
Bonehead, got it.
Name for a civilian.
Exactly.
Thanks, Bone.
Okay.